I'm extremely ugly and my life is a nightmare. I need to unload some heavy stuff here because my life is a living hell and I'm at my breaking point. Imagine if everyone around you treated you like garbage for no reason. People are rude, aggressive, and constantly mock you. Random strangers laugh at you and humiliate you, and there's no escape because this happens everywhere all the time. That's the reality for an extremely ugly person like me, a true 0-10 on the attractiveness scale. Every day is a struggle, and even the most mundane tasks become a source of anxiety and fear. I can't even step into a grocery store without the cashiers being rude or outright insulting me. They sneer at me, make snide comments about my appearance, and sometimes even refuse to serve me. It's as if they think I'm not worthy of basic human decency because of the way I look. But it's not just the cashiers. It's everyone. People on the street, in the park, even in the library. They point, they stare, they whisper, and they laugh. I can feel their eyes on me, judging me, mocking me. It's like I'm a walking freak show, a spectacle for everyone to gawk at and ridicule. I remember one particularly horrific incident when I decided to take a walk in the park, hoping to find some peace and solitude. Instead, I was met with a group of teenagers who spotted me from across the field. They started shouting insults, calling me names I won't repeat here. They followed me, their laughter and taunts growing louder with each step. I tried to ignore them, to keep walking, but they surrounded me, pushing me and spitting at me. I ran, tears streaming down my face until I finally made it home, shaking and traumatized. And that's just one example. This kind of thing happens to me all the time, everywhere I go. It's like the world is a minefield, and I never know when the next explosion of cruelty will occur. I've tried to adapt, to develop a thick skin, but it's impossible. Each insult, each laugh, each humiliation cuts deeper than the last, leaving invisible scars that never seem to heal. I've reached a point where I'm afraid to leave my house. The thought of facing the outside world fills me with dread and panic. I've become a prisoner in my own home, a recluse hiding from the relentless torment that awaits me beyond my front door. But even in my isolation, I can't escape the pain. The memories of the insults and the laughter echo in my mind, tormenting me even in my dreams. I don't know how much longer I can go on like this. The constant humiliation and isolation are taking a toll on my mental health. I feel like I'm losing my grip on reality, like I'm drowning in a sea of despair with no lifeline in sight. I'm reaching out here because I don't know where else to turn. I need help. I need support. I need someone to understand the hell I'm going through, because right now, I feel like I'm all alone in this nightmare, and I don't know if I have the strength to keep fighting. The decision to isolate myself from the outside world wasn't an easy one, but it felt like my only option. For the past 5 years, I've been living as a recluse, rarely venturing outside the safety of my home. I thought that by cutting myself off from society, I could protect myself from the relentless humiliation and mockery that had become my daily reality. But even in my self-imposed exile, I can't escape the torture. Every time I dare to step outside, even just to check the mail or take out the trash, I'm met with the same cruel treatment. The neighbors who see me through their windows point and laugh, making no attempt to hide their disgust. The delivery drivers who bring my groceries and essentials smirk and make snide comments under their breath. It's like there's no escape, no matter how hard I try to avoid the world. The isolation is starting to take a serious toll on my mental health. I feel like I'm losing my mind, trapped in a never-ending cycle of fear and despair. The loneliness is suffocating, and the lack of human connection is slowly eroding my sense of self. I find myself talking to myself, just to hear a voice that isn't filled with hatred and contempt. I've started to question my own worth, wondering if maybe they're all right about me. Maybe I am a freak, a monster, a blight on the world. These thoughts consume me, eating away at my already fragile psyche. I've tried to find ways to cope, to distract myself from the pain. I lose myself in books and movies, trying to escape into fictional worlds where appearance doesn't matter. But even in those moments of temporary relief, the darkness is always lurking, waiting to pull me back into the abyss. I've considered seeking professional help, but the thought of exposing myself to yet another person who might judge and mock me is terrifying. I can't bear the thought of sitting across from a therapist, seeing the disgust in their eyes as they take in my appearance. And even if I found a compassionate therapist, how could they possibly understand the depth of my suffering? I feel like I'm at my breaking point, teetering on the edge of a mental breakdown. The constant humiliation and isolation have worn me down, stripping away any shred of hope or happiness. I'm haunted by the knowledge that this is my reality, that I'm doomed to live this nightmare for the rest of my life. I try to hold on to the tiny glimmers of light, the brief moments when I forget about my appearance and lose myself in a good book or a beautiful piece of music. But those moments are fleeting, and the darkness always returns, stronger and more oppressive than before. I'm scared of what will happen if I can't find a way out of this hell. I'm scared that one day the pain will become too much to bear, and I'll lose the last remnants of my sanity. I'm reaching out because I'm desperate for someone, anyone, to understand the depth of my despair. I need to know that I'm not alone, that there's still some hope for a future where I'm not defined by my appearance. But right now, that future feels like an impossible dream, and I'm not sure how much longer I can hold on. Being extremely ugly has robbed me of the basic human experiences that most people take for granted. Friendships, relationships, even casual interactions with strangers. These are all luxuries that I've been denied. People don't want to associate with someone who looks like me, as if my appearance is some sort of contagious disease. I've never had a true friend, someone who accepts me for who I am, regardless of my looks. The few times I've tried to reach out, to connect with others, I've been met with rejection and disgust. People make excuses to avoid me, or they're outright cruel, telling me that they can't be seen with someone like me. The loneliness is all-consuming, a constant ache in my chest that never goes away. I watch from my window as groups of friends laugh and enjoy each other's company, knowing that I'll never experience that kind of joy. I'm an outsider, a pariah, forever excluded from the basic human need for companionship. But it's not just my social life that has suffered. My appearance has also had a profound impact on my economic prospects. Finding a job is nearly impossible when you look like me. Employers take one look at me and decide that I'm not worthy of a chance, regardless of my qualifications or skills. I've lost count of the number of job interviews that have ended abruptly, with the interviewer making a flimsy excuse to cut things short. I've seen the disgust in their eyes, the way they can barely look at me without flinching. They don't even bother to hide their revulsion, as if they have the right to judge me based solely on my appearance. The few times I have managed to secure a job, I've been subjected to relentless harassment and discrimination from my coworkers. They make cruel jokes about my looks, they refuse to work with me, and they go out of their way to make my life a living hell. I've been fired from jobs because my presence made others uncomfortable, as if my mere existence was an offense. The financial strain of being unemployable has taken a serious toll. I'm barely scraping by, living off meager savings and the occasional odd job that I can find online. I'm one missed payment away from losing my home, and the stress of my precarious financial situation keeps me awake at night. But perhaps the most heartbreaking consequence of my appearance is the way it has robbed me of the simple joys in life. I love nature, and I've always found solace in the beauty of the outdoors. But even in the most secluded hiking trails or quiet parks, I can't escape the cruelty of others. I've had strangers approach me on trails, only to recoil in horror when they see my face up close. I've had parents shield their children's eyes, as if the sight of me might traumatize them. I've even had people take pictures of me without my consent, as if I'm some sort of sideshow attraction. The constant rejection and humiliation have left me feeling like a shell of a person. I don't know who I am anymore. Beyond the ugliness that defines me in the eyes of the world, I feel like I'm slowly disappearing, fading away into the background until there's nothing left of me but the pain and the sorrow. I know that I'm not the only one who suffers from the cruel judgments of society, but knowing that others share my pain doesn't make it any easier to bear. I feel like I'm trapped in a nightmare from which there is no escape, and I don't know how much longer I can survive in this world that seems determined to crush me at every turn. One of the most isolating aspects of being extremely ugly is the lack of support and understanding from society as a whole. It's as if the world has collectively decided that people like me don't deserve compassion or empathy, that we're somehow less than human because of our appearance. I've searched for resources, for organizations or groups that might offer support for people dealing with appearance-based discrimination. But I've come up empty-handed. It seems that the struggles of the extremely ugly are a taboo topic, something that society would rather ignore than confront. There are countless support groups and advocacy organizations for people dealing with various forms of discrimination, racism, sexism, homophobia, and so on. But when it comes to lookism, there is a deafening silence. It's as if the world doesn't want to acknowledge that this form of prejudice exists, let alone take steps to address it. The lack of awareness and understanding only compounds the sense of isolation and despair that I feel. When I try to talk about my experiences, I'm often met with disbelief or dismissal. People say things like, "It can't be that bad," or "Maybe you're just imagining it." They don't want to believe that someone could be treated so cruelly based solely on their appearance, but I'm not imagining it. The pain, the rejection, the humiliation, it's all very real, and the fact that society refuses to acknowledge it only makes it harder to bear. I feel like I'm screaming into a void, desperate for someone to hear me, to see me, to understand the depth of my suffering. Even when people do acknowledge the problem, there is a lack of genuine empathy. They might express sympathy or offer platitudes, but they don't truly understand what it's like to live in a world that despises you for something you can't control. They can't fathom the daily torment, the constant fear, the overwhelming sense of hopelessness. I've even had people suggest that I should just get over it, as if the solution to my problems is as simple as changing my attitude. They don't realize that the discrimination I face is not just in my head. It's a very real and tangible part of my existence. It's not something I can simply choose to ignore or rise above. The lack of support and understanding only serves to reinforce the idea that I'm alone in this struggle. It's as if the world is telling me that my pain doesn't matter, that I don't matter. And when you're constantly being told that you're worthless and undeserving of basic human decency, it's hard not to start believing it yourself. I know that I can't be the only one who feels this way. There must be others out there who are suffering in silence, too afraid or too ashamed to speak up about their experiences. But until society starts to take the issue of appearance-based discrimination seriously, until there are real resources and support systems in place, we will continue to suffer alone. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know how to change a world that seems so determined to crush people like me. But I do know that I can't keep living like this, in a constant state of fear and despair. I need help. I need understanding. I need someone to tell me that I'm not alone, that my life has value and meaning beyond my appearance. But right now, that kind of support feels like an impossible dream. And so I remain trapped in this nightmare, wondering if there will ever be a way out, if there will ever be a place in this world for people like me. I've tried to find ways to cope with the relentless torment and isolation that come with being extremely ugly. For the most part, my coping mechanisms have revolved around avoidance and escapism. I stay locked away in my home, venturing out only when absolutely necessary. I try to lose myself in books, movies, and video games, anything that can transport me to a world where my appearance doesn't matter. But these coping strategies are not sustainable, and I know they're not healthy. The isolation is taking a serious toll on my mental health, and I can feel myself slipping deeper into depression and despair with each passing day. I'm like a prisoner in my own home, and the walls are closing in around me. I've tried to find solace in online communities, hoping to connect with others who might understand my struggles. But even in the anonymity of the internet, I find myself hesitating to share my story. I'm afraid of being ridiculed, of having my pain dismissed or minimized. I'm afraid of being told that I'm exaggerating, or that I need to just toughen up and deal with it. But I know that I can't keep living like this. I'm reaching a breaking point, and I'm desperate for a way out of this nightmare. I don't know what that way out looks like, but I know that I can't find it alone. That's why I'm here, sharing my story with all of you. I'm hoping that by opening up about my experiences, I might find some sense of connection, some glimmer of hope in the darkness. I'm hoping that someone out there might have some advice, some words of wisdom that can help me find my way forward. I know that I can't change the way I look. I know that I can't control the cruelty and prejudice of others. But I have to believe that there is still some place in this world for me, some way for me to find happiness and fulfillment, despite the challenges I face. Maybe that means finding a way to work for myself, to build a life that doesn't depend on the approval of others. Maybe it means seeking out therapy or counseling, to help me work through the trauma and pain of my experiences. Maybe it means finding a way to advocate for others who are facing similar struggles, to be a voice for those who are suffering in silence. I don't have all the answers, but I know that I can't give up. I have to keep searching for a way out, for a path forward that doesn't involve hiding away from the world forever. I have to believe that there is still some goodness and compassion out there, even if it feels like it's in short supply. So I'm asking for your help, for your support and understanding. I'm asking for your stories, your experiences, your words of encouragement. I'm asking you to see me, not just as an extremely ugly person, but as a human being who is struggling and in pain. I know that my appearance will always be a challenge, but I have to believe that it doesn't have to define me. I have to believe that there is still a future for me, a life beyond the constant rejection and humiliation. I don't know what that future looks like, but I'm determined to find it. And so I'll keep fighting, keep searching, keep holding on to the hope that somewhere out there is a place for me, a place where I can be seen for who I am, not just what I look like. A place where I can find the acceptance and love that have been denied to me for so long. It won't be easy, but I know that I can't give up. Because giving up means letting the cruelty and the prejudice win. And I refuse to let that happen. I refuse to let my appearance be the thing that destroys me. So I'll keep reaching out, keep sharing my story, keep searching for that way out. And I'll keep believing that someday, somehow I'll find it. Because I have to. Because I deserve to. Because even in a world that tells me I'm worthless, I know that my life has value. And I won't let anyone take that away from me.